We've replaced the problematic Mercedes C350e and bought a car my daughter could learn to drive in. A 2011 second generation Ford Ka.
Yes, that is how it's pronounced.
Zetec with 70-something thousand miles on the clock. In this video, we're going to talk about this particular model in a bit more detail. We're going to talk about second generation Ford Ka in general. We'll run through the model lineup a bit, and we'll cover some of the things to look out for if you're thinking about buying one, either as a learner car or just in general. And we'll talk a little bit more about our car, what it's like to drive, what we've had done to it, and what the future holds. Now, because I'm an idiot and I told the seller of this vehicle on Christmas Eve that I wanted it for my daughter to give to her on Christmas Day, I probably overpaid for it. Second-hand, second generation Ford Kas usually start at around just over £1,000. That will get you a category one, right up to sort of the 3,000 price range for the special edition metal and Grand Prix ones. About 90% of Ford Kas use a 4-cylinder 1.2 8-valve Duratec engine built by Fiat, mainly used as well in the Fiat 500. It has 68 brake horsepower, it goes from 0 to 60 in about 13 seconds, can hit a top speed of about 99 miles per hour, gets about 55 mpg and puts out 119 grams of CO2. With the seats up, you get about 224 litres of boot space. With the seats down, that expands to 747. You don't get a spare, you just get some tyre foam and the original stereo, because we upgraded ours to a CarPlay Chinese head unit. You don't get a fancy remote electronic tailgate, but do you really need one, because it opens and closes like that? They are about 1.9 metres wide at the front and about 3.6 metres long in total, so it should fit in your garage. It is on Fords. I always thought Zetec referred to the engine. How wrong I was. Zetec refers to the trim level, and it sits probably in about the mid sort of tier on the Ford Ka range. The range starts off with the Studio. On the Studio you get steel wheels with hood caps, you get black mirrors and door handles, so they're not colour coded. You get kind of a, I'll say, tacky plastic steering wheel. You get manual windows, manual locking. You get no front fog lights, and you get a one-piece rear folding seat. As new, it didn't come with floor mats, and you only get a two-way adjustable driver's seat. Next up, you get the Edge, which came with a few more extras. You do get body coloured mirrors, you get air conditioning, you get electric windows, you get remote central locking, 50/50 split folding rear seats, map pockets, and a four-way adjustable driver's seat. On the Zetec then, you get all the things that you get on the Edge, but you get slightly sportier interior, which is a little bit less flowery than the Edge, and you also get alloy wheels, front fog lamps, a dimming interior light when you get in and out, and also a passenger visor mirror. This is the leather trim steering wheel you get in the Zetec, and your air conditioning controls and your electric window switches here. Not sure whether those little nets there are your map pockets, but you can see the interior probably needs a bit of a clean, but it's not flowery, and you don't get the windy windows on the doors. They're not the most... It's a Ford product, but I don't know. It's charming for a first car, the interior. It's not too bad in here. It's quite nice. Bit of wear for 70,000 miles, but not too bad. And ahead of the Zetec, you get the titanium. That gets fancier alloy wheels, optional leather seats, digital climate controls, not the sort of turny dials, and it gets silver door handles. There are a couple of special editions that are worthy of mention as well. The metal. Now that is basically a titanium Zetec mashup with, you get the Zetec heater controls, the turny dial ones, but you get titanium wheels and you get this weird pierced fabric trim darker piano black interiors and privacy glass, and quite a bit of a snazzier gear lever. So kind of unique if you find a metal special edition. The Grand Prix special edition gets decals, a spoiler, a funky gear lever and very bright interiors. There's also a special edition called the Digital, which I'm not going to talk about. I mean, Christ, just look at it. I mean, just look at it. So what do you look out for when buying one? Well, this one's got 70,000 miles. It has had a new exhaust. So check that as well. I think they do sort of, small cars sort of eat through exhaust a little bit. So check that. They're a cam belt driven engine, so you might want to check when that was last done. Look out for signs of rust on the wheel arches. Check previous MOT failures and advisories, making sure that they've all been fixed properly. Gear changes, as the miles sort of rise, they do get a bit less than precise, shall we say. So make sure you do sometimes have to sort of drive the gear change home. So when you're driving or test driving a car, if you're looking out for one of these, make sure that it's got a nice smooth gear change and you're not sort of having to ram it in. Clutches can be pretty firm, especially with the Zetec. It's designed to be a bit more of a sporty model, so it is got quite a sharp bite. If you can drive this, you can probably drive anything, so it does make it that kind of ideal car for learning to drive. And if you can handle the clutch in a little Ford Ka, surprisingly stiff and sporty, then you can probably get away with driving anything, which is kind of cool. My daughter's learning to drive in a 2023 Ford Fiesta that's a diesel, so the clutch bite feel is obviously very different and a little bit softer. So yeah, if you can get away with a petrol Zetec and use that sort of sharp bitey clutch, yeah, it's a great car to learn in. The other reason I'm at the back of the car is rear subframes on second gen Ford Kas, and I think on the first gens as well, are known to corrode pretty badly. This one is okay. They're not actually too cheap to buy. I think about a few £100 or less than a couple £100. I suppose there's a bit of labour putting that in if you were to get it done. This one, as I say, it's not too bad, and it has, I think, at some point in its life been treated with some wax oil as well to sort of preserve the life of that. So if you are buying one of these, get onto the back of the car, have a good look, make sure it's not totally and utterly corroded. When you are looking for one, make sure all the buttons, switches and dials work. If you can, test it at night. They are known for blowing bulbs in the dash display, and when we first got ours, we've replaced it now because it was easy to get to. We popped all this out to replace the stereo with a CarPlay head unit, which I'll mention a bit more about in a second. But you do need to check the dashboard lights light up. It doesn't feel like it's a big problem, but when you get in it at night, if you're buying it in the day and then you drive it for the first time at night, you want to be able to see where your heater controls are pointing in the dark. That can be quite useful. So replace the stereo, which was a bit of a challenge because you do need, ideally, I'll say a CAN bus adapter for the stereo to work properly with the ignition turning on and off. You can sort of frig it and wire it into a switched ignition live by going down to the cigarette lighter, but that's just a hassle. So we paid extra, I think it was about 60 quid just for the connection lead, so that the new stereo that we added in connects to the CAN bus. But it's better because it does all that sort of cool dimming when you put your lights on, etc. It sort of dims it. So it keeps it a bit more proper, I suppose, and then you don't have to worry about any of those battery drain issues and things like that. Dodgy, the Parcel shelf brackets. There are repair kits available for them online. Ours have completely gone, and I've sort of fabricated a temporary repair using a bit of nut and bolt there in the back. But make sure when you're buying them, have a look for that. Also, the wiring to the rear heated screen, where the boot goes up and down, they are known to kind of fray and strain. So test the rear heated window. The one on ours doesn't work. It looks like someone's been at the rear wires at some point. We'll get to fixing that at some point, going in and sorting those wires out. So check for that as well. Those, I think, are the main things. Let's take it out for a drive and see what it's like on the road. You get, apparently anyway, only one remote key and then a manual key too. You can get obviously other keys cut, which we probably need to do because the buttons on ours are fairly worn. You can replace these, but to do so you have to take the Ford badge off, which is sort of glued on, and I just don't fancy doing that. So I could take the electronics out and swap it over to a new key one. I suppose maybe do that at some point, but 100 quid key cutter, get your new key cutter done. Ours didn't come with mats, so I've engineered some out of a bit of old plastic that we had. The doors are ginormous, massive wide entry doors. Getting in the back is a simple case of doing that. You've got room for two just about in the back, no more than that. And then that clips back and doesn't slide back to how it was. You have to get the lever down there. There we go. Now let's get in and start this absolute beast up and get ready to turn the radio off. There's my head unit that I got, which plugs into CarPlay. The original one was very worn, the buttons were worn. You could bet, you couldn't use it, you couldn't push the buttons anymore. Someone had been really pushing the buttons. This is a BP thing here, which you can use to go through your computer and set the date and time. See, it's very BP. Greeting light, button volume, buzzer volume, language, units, C radio, etc. C radio's on, but I'm not going to do that. And then escape out of there somehow. Right, let's start it up. Reverse it to the right and over.
To this one. Whoa, did the stars align? Whoa, maybe it's a sign we should do tonight again. Even in another lifetime, find me there and let's.
Now, this car's got rear parking sensors, which is kind of hilarious because the back is just there. If you really need them in this car, there's probably, well, you just don't really need them, but nice to have them anyway. It does beep when you put it in reverse to tell you put it in reverse. There's no car, it's 2011, it predates sort of all tyre pressure monitoring warning systems, so you don't have any of that to worry about. Obviously has power steering, ABS brakes, and because it's a Zetec air conditioning, which I'm now trying desperately to see if it works because it's quite a warm day, drives quite well. You get very good visibility in here, you get a very good driving position as well. Being a super mini, it feels very light and airy. You've got that typical big A-pillar sort of sweeping out in front of you, how all modern sort of super mini cars are now. You've got electric mirrors as well in the Zetec, which is quite nice. There are no windows electric or opening in the back at all. They're obviously little panels, but there's none of that foldy poppy out things. And 75,000 miles, and these little Zetec engines are pretty peppy and pretty reliable, pretty robust units really. Good if you're looking for one for well over 100,000 miles if it's been well serviced, well maintained and looked after. The gripes with this car are, or were, one of them anyway, steering wheel was massively off alignment, and I suspect because of the nature of this car, it is a sort of learning to drive car, and I'm not casting aspersions in any way, shape or form, but you're probably hitting a few curbs once or twice, you're probably knocking the steering out. Anyway, we got an alignment done pretty much straight away. That again also didn't feel like it made a huge amount of difference. The car was very veering. Pumping up the tyres to the correct pressures did sort that out. So if your Ford Ka, which obviously is front wheel drive, so and steering at the front, all that is going on at the front, is a bit wayward, check your tyre pressures, get your tracking done. It doesn't cost much. There is a few clunks coming from the suspension in this Ford Ka. They are spiritedly sporty and firm, the Zetec model anyway, deliberately so is my understanding, but to the consequence of, I suppose, a little bit of ride quality, it could be a bit smoother in here. I suspect the shocks are slightly past their best. There's probably a few worn suspension bushes somewhere as well, which maybe we need to get sorted out at some point. So check for clunks, rattles and groans. Gearbox on this is okay. There is a few times you just need to just make sure that it's firmly gone home if you're doing a sort of block change down from 5th to 3rd make sure you drive the gear lever home. But overall, very comfortable, very, although it sounds cliche, nippy as well. The 0 to 60 time in this car is horrendous. I mentioned it earlier, I think it's something like 13-14 seconds to get to 0 to 60. But, and again, cliche, around town, setting off from the lights, pulling away, indicating over to the lane that you perhaps need to go into, it's okay. It doesn't feel like you're holding anyone up ever, so, which I think is, you know, pretty good. It keeps up, sorry for the cliche, it keeps up with modern traffic just fine. We will keep this Ford Ka for as long as it takes my daughter to pass her driving test. It's sort of our car rather than her car. It's more of a family car. She'll probably go to uni. I doubt she'll want to take it with her and have that burden of owning and driving a car, insuring, taxing, MOTing it. So it's our sort of family car, but we will, I think once we've passed her test, we'll look for something that's equally low insurance, but maybe something that's a little bit more able to tolerate, I suppose, longer journeys. This car is great, cliche, around town, on longer journeys, dual carriageways, motorways, with only the 5-speed box. I imagine it's probably going to be a bit tiring. So there we go, that is a little intro overview of our particular Ford Ka 2nd generation. A bit of a rundown of what to watch out for if you're buying one, and a bit of a model rundown as well. Hope you found it useful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, please like, and don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you again very soon. Thanks for watching. Cheers.